Hello, I'm here to talk about Ipsative testing. This is my first attempt at a Google Hangout, so please bear with me. I realize that many people don't know what Ipsative testing means, but before I get to that, I'll give some information about my background, so those of you who may be in different situations from that in which I am can disconnect right now. For the last 20 years or so, I've been teaching mostly part-time at different universities, in some high school. And for those of you who have not taught part-time as an adjunct faculty member, there are a few inconveniences. One of them is that often there's little contact with the teachers, especially if one is busy and teaches at several places in one day. There's little chance to interact with other instructors. And here in Japan, at least, there was very little chance to interact with those people who are essentially running the language programs. Another constraint which people like me work is that there is often little guidance from universities regarding what to teach. I'll be asked, for example, to teach a class titled English 2, and that is the extent of the information that one is given directly. And in other cases, I'll be asked to teach reading or listening. Another problem that I have found prevalent almost every university is that instructors have little knowledge of students' abilities before beginning classes, which makes class planning difficult. But, regarding what I'm speaking about today, it makes developing tests difficult as well. That's partly because as a language teacher, foreign language specifically, I do not share the educational background with most of the students I teach. I don't know what kind of language university students might have been exposed to, might have learned before joining university. So that is the general situation in which I developed this approach to testing, classroom testing. And now I'll move on to some general problems about testing. And the general problem about language testing is the easiest problem to see is figuring out which student is better at language than other students, ranking students regarding their language ability. And with conventional testing, and that would be giving a single test to every member of a class, the results that one sees basically end up giving you this kind of information. I'm using the metaphor of foot race here. And as you can see, it comes up. Yes, here it is. This is a very crude drawing I've done showing the results of a race. And here we can see that person B has crossed the finish line first. Person B is second fastest, closest to the finish line. Person A is very closest, and person C is bringing up in here. So eventually, in conventional testing, we give person B the highest grade, and person B the lower grade, person A the lower grade, and person C the lowest grade. However, the problem that I realize if I do that, because I don't share the educational background and don't know the educational background of my students, is this, that all the students, all the people in this race might be starting at different places. So person Steve, for example, who came in last and got the lowest score in the test, may have started the class at a lower level. Person B, who got the highest score in the test, may have been the person who had the highest initial difficulty. Persons who are also starting from different places. So this is one problem that I have been trying to alleviate in my language testing practices. And another problem, especially with language, is that language is a vehicle for thought in language. Language always has content. And there's always the worry for me that if I choose a particular content for a test, that some students may have greater content knowledge and hence perform better on the test. And actually, if the test is different content, it will perform just as well or worse than other students. In this situation, I've also made a crude graphic to illustrate this. If we imagine that we're running a scavenger hunt. This is the test that we're doing. We're having a scavenger hunt, and the person who can find 50 items in one day gets an A or an A plus. And we say here that a student named Katie found 50 items. And the student at the top there, Luis, I don't know which one, found 26 items. Apollo found 16, and Virginia got the lowest score, finding only 14 items. And again, I would, with no other information, be forced to give Katie the highest grade, and apparently a much higher grade than the other three participants. Luis with a B minus, perhaps a C plus. Apollo and Virginia, lowest scores. So this is what the situation of giving a language test one area of content in it would look like. However, there's always this problem, and that is that perhaps Katie is a native of New York, and she's from Manhattan, so she's more aware of where to find various things. Luis is from London, and we can assume that Luis has some ability in English, perhaps some ability in how English state names are used. Some kind of information that will help him to complete the scavenger hunt. And Virginia and Apollo are from Central Asia and Africa, respectively, and from places where the principal language is not English, and they're handicapped because, perhaps because of their language, but also because they don't have the content knowledge. They don't know New York as well as Katie does, and apparently as well as Luis does. This is another problem. And the third problem that I worry about is that I'm not sure if this is a problem, but I always have impulse to reward students who improve more somehow. So going back to the crude illustration I showed at first, the second one rather. Even though person C has come in last, has gotten the lowest score on the test, person C is starting from a more basic level, from a lower point, from a point farther from the finish line. And I would like to reward that person somehow, because that person has traveled the longest path. Traditionally, the solution for the problem of the person traveling the longest path, the person who is improving the most, is approached by giving pretests. So one idea is you give all of the students a test in whatever topic or language area is being tested in the real test at the beginning of the class to find out what a base score is, and in that way we can measure improvement. Regarding the second problem, the problem of content knowledge, and that's the effect of content knowledge on language test performance, there is, as far as I can tell, nothing, as far as I've come up with, nothing that can directly ameliorate this problem. However, one thing that we can do is to try to at least make the chances that content knowledge is artificially inflating someone's language score, is to try to spread around the advantages that content knowledge might give to a group of students. So for this reason, when I'm giving tests, I always use many different content areas from which to draw the test questions. And finally, the idea of excuse me, we're still left with the idea that we have to, in most cases, rank students in classes. So finding students' improvement, ameliorating the content knowledge problems can be addressed separately. But with Ipsative testing, and this is what I'm mainly interested in introducing here, we can address both of the problems at the same time. And I'd like to explain one Ipsative testing video that I have come up with for reading classes, and for Hangout. I hope to be able to introduce an Ipsative testing regime for listening classes, slightly more difficult. But basically what I do in Ipsative testing regime is take several steps. And the first of the steps is this. Basically, I compare, before I begin, I compare multiple tests that test what I'm going to be teaching in the class. And we'll call that number of multiple tests n. I usually find that being use an even number of tests. When I started doing testing under the Ipsative idea, I was using 4 tests. Presently I'm using, I think, 36 different texts. So that is step 1. And also in step 1, I divide the class randomly. or at least in some way not connected with the student's language ability, into n groups, that is the same number of groups as I have tests. If I have 4 tests, I'll divide the students into 4 groups. If I have 8 tests, 8 groups, and so forth. And then at the start of the class, I give each member of the class one of the tests that I've prepared. So if I have 4 tests, I will give 1/4 of the students test A, 1/4 test B, 1/4 test C, 1/4 test D. And what this allows me to do is use these tests as a pretest and allow me to fix the difficulty of the tests and the difficulty of the test questions against the students at the starting point of the class. So because I'm dividing students into groups randomly or somehow in a way not coming to the language ability, I can assume that the scores that students get on the tests will follow a normal curve, which means that, as sometimes happens in Japan, if I happen to be teaching a group of students who are majoring in one particular area, say biology, I can assume that students will be normally distributed on a biology content test and on other content area tests as well. The biology students' scores in the biology test will be higher than the tests on, the tests from other students who have taken other content area tests. But we can assume that they're normally distributed, which means that we can adjust for the difference in test score magnitude.
And of course,
for this, I use IRT rash analysis. So this is the first step in my Ipsative testing regime. Basically, I'm gathering students' test scores on all of the tests that I'm going to be presenting, giving the students into class. And then the next thing that I do is I determine orders for giving the tests. So, for example, if I have 4 tests, as I'm talking about in this example, I'm going to end up with 24 different possible orders of tests. And what this does is it, of course, minimizes any order effects that there might be in the test. For example, in the test scores. For example, one test might teach students the answers to a second test, and reversing the order of those two tests might make the second questions more difficult. In any case, because I'm using all possible orders of tests, the effects, any statistical order effects will be minimized at least. You can't prevent them completely. So now I have n factorial orders of tests, and then I take those orders and simply assign them to each student in the class. I assign one order to each student. Depending on the size of the class, 2 or 3 students might have the same order of tests, but generally there's a small number, only a small number of students having the same order of tests, which of course doesn't eliminate the order effects, but makes the statistical effect much less important. So this is what This is what an order scheme might look like. If I have 24 students in the class, over here on the left, first test equation, pre-test, or first day test, as we might term it. 6 students out of 24 are taking test A. 6 students are taking test B. 6 students are taking test C. And 6 students test D. And this is the test from which, with which I set the difficulties of the test question, the test items. In the second test occasion, this I usually do 1/3 of the semester, and this is a test that does affect the students' grades. Each student takes one of the tests that he or she has not taken before, which would mean that students 1 and 2 will be taking test B after test A, students 3 and 4 take test C after test A, and the students 5 and 6 take test D after test A. 2/3 of the way through the course, I get another test, and once again, students take a test that they have not taken before, but other students have taken, which means I am able to compare each student's ability against the abilities of uninstructed other students in the class. And in the last session of the class, or the test period, I did the fourth test, which again is a test that students have not taken before. As I mentioned earlier, I'm now working with 32 different tests, which allows me to have a unique test paper for every single student that I teach. I'm not sure offhand what 32 factorial is, but it's a pretty large number. And that basically is the regime that I'm using for Ipsative testing for my reading classes presently. I've been using it now for about five years, and I have a fairly wide, fairly large number of results for each test, and I have a fairly good error-proof idea of how difficult each item is. The results that I get, not using numbers, end up looking something like this. Just a minute, please. From the several thousand students I have records for, here I have put the results for 60 randomly selected students. Each one is represented with a different line. On the y-axis, you can see a typical rash style score, 0 being the mean. This would be the mean for students who were uninstructed. They were determined from the first pre-test or first level check test versus first classification test. And the angle 1/3 of the way through the class is the student scores on the second test. The first real test used for the class grade. The 2/3 of the way through is the grade test, and the right axis shows the scores on the last test. And looking at individual students, this allows me to pick out which students are having trouble, which students don't seem to be progressing, which students are progressing. Taking class means gives me some idea of how the class is progressing, which basically allows me to see if my teaching is working as well as I would like it to. This allows me to, in different classes, use different approaches, different techniques, different textbooks. This would also allow program reviewers who's using Common Test 3 class to compare curricula, compare syllabi, and so forth. A little bit more information about, a little bit easier information to see here is this. This is 10 students I've chose from the 2012 academic year. And for reasons of clarity, I have not included error measures here. No, of course, error measures. But if you can see, if you take a look at, let's say, the orange line, the one that starts on the left, axis at 0.2, and you can see that that student's score dropped quite a lot between the LC, that's the left side x-axis marker, the level check or retest. That student score dropped a lot from the level check to the first test occasion, and dropped still more to one of the lowest in this group for the second test occasion. When I see something like this, I'm able to try to intervene with the student, explain to the student that who seems to be not making the same kind of progress that other students in the class are making. I don't know which student is using if I did intervene. I'd like to think that I did intervene, as you can see the orange line from the second test occasion to the third final test occasion goes up quite a bit. So that would make me happy about the kind of intervention I did. The student with the olive line marked by triangles seems to have basically started off and ended up the class the same way. If I had a lot of those patterns in my class, in the next time I taught the class, I would do something to try to change my teaching approach. And that is one more thing that Ipsative testing allows me to do. Here are two students not randomly selected. These are results from two students from, again, the 2012 academic year, where I did intervene in the left side graph. You can see the student started off at 0.2, a little bit higher than average for the class, and then dropped quite a bit for test number 2. For the first real test, and dropped even further for the second real test. My practice is usually to contact students whose scores have dropped a lot between any two test occasions, and visit them by to see if they're having any problems, and see perhaps if their test scores were anomalous in some way. If not, to at least advise them to study harder. I think that is what happened with this student. I did intervene with the student and gave that student the information that continuing on this course, she failed the class. And we can see that this student's score did improve drastically between the second and third and final tests. The student on the right side, the score is represented here on the right side, is a student who seems to be showing normal progress. the score drop between the level check test and the first test evasion test, I didn't worry about because it was lower than the measurement error. And the second test, as I should hope, as all teachers hope, and as all students, I hope, the student scores went up, and the student scores went up further on the final test. So I was satisfied with the student's progress and did not intervene with this particular student. That is about the end of the 30 minutes I allotted for this very short and non-organized talk. I thank you for listening. I believe that you were perfectly able to write comments and ask questions on the page on which you are doing this. And I will pay attention to the comments that come in and all of the questions that come in. And once again, thank you. The end.